Shout out, the Connects, Luis Guzman. Don't ever go, never leave my side. Passion's all I have, courage is my drive. And if I lost you, I would lose it all together. I wouldn't have
Welcome to I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast, where we highlight the journey of entrepreneurs, creatives, and business people alike to showcase that every light and dark moment create a beautiful piece of art. This is episode 45. I am your host, Luis Guzman. My guest today is the COO of a startup software as a solution company called LiveRecover, where they provide non-bot service for Shopify as well as other notable companies to ensure your ROI with potential clients. A peer-to-peer messaging platform that has generated over $13 million in recovery for companies that had their customers on the fence. And that's just in the past 90 days. He's in the game of retention and capitalizing on the millions of scalable dollars that companies are just leaving on the table. He closes the gap between the impulse moment a customer has and ensures they get the deal closed for you and your business. A fellow Boricua like myself and a self-starter, motivated entrepreneur, he symbolizes the mantra of being an artist and not a salesman. Steve Lequerica, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for being here, man.
My guy.
Dude, great vibes with you off camera, but when you got here, we're chopping it up, man, loving your energy, man. And, again, I know you have a lot going on. You got flights, you got your nephew's birthday, etc. So thankful you made time to sit down with us, man.
No, man, I'm just grateful to be here and grateful to just be able to tell people my story. And, also like you said, I'm with a fellow Boricua. That doesn't happen too often.
It's hard to find two in a room.
For real.
But I'm thankful, man. Thank you so much, brother. So yeah, man, I always ask everybody the same question. So I'm going to pose the same one to you. Who is Steve Lequerica?
So Steve Lequerica, wow. So just a little bit about me. Yeah, I'm a North Jersey boy through and through.
Nice.
Walk around with a chip on my shoulder for sure. I've been in startups really my whole professional journey.
Okay.
Worked in an early stage startup right out of college.
Nice.
I think what's pretty interesting about kind of my journey is I come from a family of two physicians.
Nice. Okay.
So yeah, both my parents are doctors, and
good for you, man.
I was actually, I didn't know what else to do other than to try and go down that path, right?
Gotcha.
In college, I was actually a bio major.
Wow.
So
Yeah, Ramapo, right?
Yeah, Ramapo.
Yeah.
I like how you're doing your research.
Yeah, you got to, man.
So I went pre-med at Ramapo College, and I think around like my third year, like going in deep into my junior year, I think, organic chemistry will do that to you. It makes you reflect a little bit. And I was like, you know what? I was always a natural born, at least people would tell me I'm just a natural salesperson, right? Like a people person. I was always the guy connecting the dots behind the scenes,
Gotcha.
How do we scrape a few dollars together to go to the city?
I was the same way, bro. We're sharing a brain here.
How do we figure out, how do we get to the best parties? How do we, do the best things along the way? And just always had a lot of different groups of friends, and, was always a people person, thrived off of that energy. And I would do a non-paid internship at the New Jersey Medical School. Okay. Every year. I was fortunate enough. I was able to.
Was it hard to get into, like, the internship program?
It was. It was a little. There was. I mean, just for me and being learning how to be responsible in college, I think was the biggest education I got. Getting all the paperwork on time. Yes, this program was a little intricate, but it was also specific to minorities.
Okay.
So
nice.
I was able to get in and learned a lot. Like every summer was learning a lot, but when I rotated with one of the doctors there that was an anesthesiologist, and I wanted to go into anesthesiology, he was like, hey man, if you're in this for the money and you're doing this, to really be successful, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like healthcare has changed, and it has. I've seen it with my parents over the years, and it's just so different. And so I really took that opportunity to take a step back and be like, I know I don't want to do this. What do I want to do? And so I had a buddy that I was always, very close with, childhood best friend of mine that was he comes from a real estate background. He started to do angel investing, and he was working with startup companies. And so I knew I didn't know what the hell, what he actually was doing at the time, but I just
You were
knew
intrigued.
his energy, and he's a successful person. I want to figure out how to do business with him. And
Gotcha,
so
man.
he was fortunate enough to connect me nearing the end of my senior year. He was able to connect me with his first startup, and I was using basically that whole summer to try and develop a relationship. It's hard when you have no experience. You're a kid from college, and you're knocking on the door of successful business owners that are starting a startup, and you know what it's like, man.
Oh,
Like
dude,
when you're on the ground floor and you're just trying to make sure the lights turn on. The last thing you need to do is be talking to potential people that want to be interns and have no idea where their life is. And,
exactly. You're throwing stuff at a wall, trying to figure it out, and you're young, you're malleable. You don't know if you're going left or right, wherever the wind takes you. So it's hard to get your real grounding and footing when it's kind of an unknown area that you're trying to learn through it. And I'm intrigued by this because, and correct me if I'm wrong, did you feel pressure because your parents were physicians that you were kind of forced into going to medical school? Like, it doesn't feel like you were passionate about it, but did you do it to appease them? And we're Puerto Rican, so I know my mom would yell at me and say, "You're going to college. I don't care what you say," et cetera. And I feel that with you because I went through the EO program, which was for underprivileged, ethnic, Black, brown background, where I did great on my SATs, but we didn't have the money to go to college. And they were able to finance. I went to K University.
Oh,
so they were
love K.
so they were able to finance us through that program, the EO program. So I share that sentiment with you, but I wanted to go to college, but I also felt like the pressure of my mom working so hard and never finishing her college that I wanted to go.
Yeah.
Did you feel that with your parents at all?
No, I love the way you position that because, well, one, you promised me before the show that you wouldn't that I wouldn't cry. So you gotta be. We're gonna be careful about how I talk about my parents because I could get emotional
Tread
real
lightly,
quick,
brother. No worries, man.
But no. On the real, my parents, they're just the most amazing people I'll ever come across. And
Beautiful.
To your point, they never pressured me. Actually,
Wow.
even though my mother is as boogie down Bronx as you can get, man. I'm talk about how, as Puerto Rican as you can get.
Puerto Ricans, man.
I always say I'm like 80% her and 20% my father. My father is like Gandhi. Like,
wow,
I don't think there's
peaceful,
a down to earth person in the world than my father. Honestly, the guy has accomplished so much. You go anywhere in North Jersey and you mention Dr. Lequerica, people are going to look at you and be like, huh? Like, so he's just, but you would never know it, and so, but they always know I was super competitive, was always in sports, an athlete. And I was just like, I need to be successful. And the only thing I know is that my parents were in the medical field and they, seemed to live a great life and provided us a great life. And I want to be able to do that.
Reciprocate that.
But I remember at certain times being like, help guide me. What should I do? But they were so animate on not wanting to push me to be a doctor, as even though in the most cases you are getting pushed to kind of like, hey, this is the path, do this.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that was also, there wasn't pressure at all. It was more pressure that I just never wanted to disappoint them because they did invest so much time and resources into, I wasn't always when it came to academics, it took a lot to kind of get me on the right train.
Gotcha.
Whereas my sisters, I have two sisters that are older than me, super bright, successful in their own right. And school just came naturally to them. It didn't come as naturally to me, but because I knew I needed great grades in order to even qualify for medical school, I had to do that. But
dial in. Yeah.
But yeah, to really just long story short, they never pressured me. Always just wanted us to be happy, each and every one of their kids.
I feel like you're very disciplined from what I'm hearing because everything you just mentioned to me is kind of very like it's like you're telling me this as a young man that you're 19, probably 20 years old, college, right? But you have so much discipline because I know what it's like to be in a classroom and this sucks. I don't want to be here. But you got to like dial in. You got to really like zero in on the target and do great, especially for medical school. So the fact that you have this discipline from what I see, was that all, and obviously we spoke about this off camera, how you lost 40 pounds after a heartbreak. We'll get into that later. But I see this thread of discipline. Was that also instilled in you by your parents?
Yeah, I think 100%. Like growing up, all I know is like, and don't take this the wrong way, but like, our house is like a boot camp. My mother, like the arrangement her and my father had was like, he was gonna continue working, and even though, she's obviously a killer of a doctor and was successful in her own right and built up her own practice, she gave that up for her kids.
Oh, wow.
And, I'll always be so grateful for that. And, I can never repay her for that. But, because I was the youngest of three, she was very, very hands-on with me. And it was like, no matter what, I was always like, it was funny growing up. I always thought I was like underprivileged because all the kids would be going outside after school and get to do this, that, and that. And like, I'm like, you're doing this homework. You're going to this tutor at this time. We have this trainer at this time. Like,
I love it,
it was like
my mom was the same way, man.
And at the time you just think like, gosh, this is like, I'm like in, military school. But, nowadays I'm just like, it helped build who I am and the discipline and the, that's why at football camp in high school, people were like looking at me like I'm crazy when it's 2 a.m. and they can barely even feel their bodies, but like I'm on the ground doing push-ups and sit-ups because I didn't get my reps in, and so yeah, I mean, they definitely instilled that level of discipline and from the gate, but I will say that's my mother. My father, like, he has that same mentality, but he never had to apply pressure. Some of the funniest moments I have in childhood is when, my mom would somehow be out of town for maybe a weekend or two. And, it was like free for all. There was no checking up on homework.
Fun times.
He had no idea what this
as dads are.
It was great. I was like, gosh, I know if I was just only with Pops, I'm so grateful for my mother because I was only with Pops, I'd probably be flunking out of school in a second.
Well, he was the velvet glove. Your mom was the iron fist.
Yes.
She ruled with an iron fist.
Yes.
But again, so dope, right? How all these little, kind of like Easter eggs of discipline that she and him instilled in you at a young age, and it kind of developed you into a young man now in all these startups and obviously with LiveRecover now. You wouldn't have gotten this far if it wasn't for those repetitions of discipline they instilled in you. So it's a beautiful thing if you look back at it, hindsight's 2020, and you're like, wow, thankful for the moments of pain, thankful for the moments of adversity, thankful for the moments of confusion. Mom, why am I doing this? Because it got you to that point where you're
100%.
Like, wow, I have arrived. And the hardest thing, even nowadays with these young kids, right, is there's no direction. There's no accountability. Everybody gets a trophy just for participating. Back when we were going at it, it was like you have to earn every level of respect, every level of finance, every level of intelligence. It's earned. It's not given to you. So the fact that she instilled that in you at a young age and it followed you throughout your life thus far, it's a beautiful thing. Your mom is, God bless her, man. That's amazing.
No, I really appreciate that. And like, the premise of the show, right, is which is so amazing what you built. Like, I'm an artist, not a salesman.
Yeah.
I feel like my mother, gosh, if she just ever even had a need to be a salesperson, like she is a salesman, the consummate Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street in another life. Because, the things that I experienced along the journey with her and spending so much time with her, it kind of all built into sales related type of things in real life. Back in the day, no social media, no GPS, like we get lost in the Bronx or in New York, we're going to every gas station, and I'm having to, at 9 years old, go in there and talk to these gas attendants and try to figure out, she's like, go in there, figure out how to get home. Cause she's also frazzled. We're all lost. And seeing her, if she wanted me to go try out for a competitive basketball team, shout out, St. Anthony's Bob Hurley, New Jersey legend.
Oh, yes.
To be able to cold call some of like the most insane people that I've ever met in my life and her get meetings and like, there's no business for this, Puerto Rican woman from Wayne, New Jersey that's calling these people and setting up time. Like it was just, it kind of, obviously it left a resonating, impact on me because I'm like thinking of when I was starting to get into these startups and, build things from the ground up and cold call and get hung up on. And, all I knew is, there's no taking no for an answer. You got to keep going. You got to keep working. Her mantra was always work, learn.
Wow, that's beautiful, man. I share that with you. My mom used to sell $5 Puerto Rican plates out of the back of her station wagon because she didn't have a job. And I would go with her to these warehouses, these factories, these businesses. And literally I have a cardboard box full of food and I would just see how they were just giving her $5. I'm like, wow, like she's really making money. Like she's hustling. She didn't take no for an answer. She is better now. She's got a job and benefits. But back then, she was just a young woman trying to figure it out. But little did she know, she was instilling these lessons unconsciously in my mind.
Yep.
Like there is a means to an end, but you got to put in the work. It's not going to be given to you. And in your case, same as mine, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work. And I think that's exactly what you signify when you're telling me the cold calling and the drive to, get, immersed into these startups and going in with no safety vests, just trying to figure it out. It's also a level of survival, but it's also a level of instinct that was instilled in you by your mom's blessing. So I think full 360 moment here, you're like, wow, this is beautiful what, the kind of road she paved for you to be the man that you are today. That's so freaking awesome, man.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Mothers, man,
God bless
they don't make them
man.
like the OGs.
Nah, man,
they don't make them like the OGs
man.
anymore, man.
And they're tough. So I mean, I asked you this: can you think of a wholesome moment with your mom? Something you could reflect on that was very wholesome, that wasn't as rigid or rough or boot campy, but it was more like of pure love and affection and empathy.
Yeah. So many moments. So many moments. I think, just more recently, I can think of, it's funny, like I'm a big believer in God and,
Same here,
my
bro.
faith. And so, my grandfather was a devout Catholic, her father, he was best man ever.
Nice.
Didn't have a pot to piss in, he was a mailman for 30 something years, post office, World War II vet, but I'll just never remember, I'll never forget when he passed. That was like the first real funeral I went to when I was 16. And, the people that lined up, like, I mean, this is a man, that it's not
Blue
like
collar,
he was, he was Jeff Bezos or something, but like I've never been to a bigger funeral, honestly, than that. And it just, waitresses at the diner that had, he was a regular at, and they would come, found out that he had passed. And so just, I say that because obviously faith came from him. He never could stay with us. They never owned a car, my grandparents, and he could never stay with us for more than a week because he had to get back for church.
Yeah.
And so, I always feel like God puts things into perspective, and everything happens for a reason. About a year and a half ago, or close to a year ago, when I had ended my relationship and I was moving out of Cincinnati, my mother happened to be visiting at that time. And, things were rocking my relationship for a while, but, it was just interesting how my mother was there in arguably one of my lowest points of my life. And she had no idea, of course she had some ideas maybe in the background of some, things that we're struggling with, but she had no idea what was really, going on. And then, there's no person that I could have imagined being able to, be there with me and pick me up in those types of moments. And she was right there. And just, it was cool because obviously we still have to run the business every day. I'm doing my thing, but knowing that I'm going to have to relocate and figure all these things out. And she was there for about a week or two. And it was just really special because, she was during the day, doing little things around the house. She normally would be on autopilot and, playing Candy Crush and watching movies, maybe watching novellas and, cooking or this. But, she's, cleaning, organizing, plotting and, give me suggestions for things to do,
Mother's love.
And then, we were able to go to dinner every night and really reflect and have conversations that we hadn't been able to have ever. And so it was almost like I was able to reconnect with my mother again in ways, because when you're 30, 33, 34, you're just at a different stage of life than you are at 20 something or 18 or
Absolutely.
10.
Experience different things.
And so, the paradigm shifts, right? The relationship I have with my mother and father, it's almost like I'm trying to figure out how to take care of them.
Yeah.
But then in that moment, she was like, hold on, let me get back to what I can do, like Michael Jordan, which is be your mother.
Yep.
And my God, it was just very special. And that was definitely a moment, I think, where it's talk about empathy.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story, man. Wow. I mean, a mother's love is something that can't be duplicated, replicated. It's something that's genuine, pure, comes from the heart, literally. And, she has that mama bear instinct that my son is going through something and I'm going to be there to ensure that he's okay. And that's just an instinctual, thing that mothers have. So the fact that she was able to kind of hone in on that and look at you at, you say you were 34 at the time or 33?
33, yeah.
You're 33, but she's looking at you like you're a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? You're a 6-year-old. And, dealing with that pain and dealing with that heartbreak, it hurts her too. So the fact that she was able to kind of hold your hand through this storm, it speaks volumes for her as a mother, but also as a human being, so that's a beautiful story, man. I didn't expect that. That's really nice, man. How did you end up in Cincinnati? Sheesh. Tell me about that.
Oh gosh, that people always ask me that. It's one of the funniest questions, I think, because what's
North
hilarious
Jersey
is
boy.
I'm a North Jersey boy.
Yeah.
And
born and raised Wayne.
Born and raised in Wayne.
Okay.
Came out the womb. Left the hospital in pinstripes. I was born in St. Joe's and Patterson.
Okay, nice.
And then so working with my first startup, once we got that engine humming, right? Because it took a little bit of getting out to. I was out in Laguna Beach. Turned the internship in.
Wait, time out. Out in Laguna Beach, that's his life flex right there.
I know.
How did you end up in Laguna Beach? Like, I need to start a startup because you guys just travel and like just create stuff. I love this. I don't mean to cut you off. I just like
no, but that's a valid point to cut off because everyone's like, well, hold on, North Jersey, you were in Laguna Beach and you ended up in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah,
like I always say, I lost a bet. I lost the bet. But no, I was in Laguna Beach because that's where and we were located. Our headquarters were in Irvine, California. Okay. The first startup that I was with.
Tech startup,
okay, SaaS. Got it. We were basically provided. We provided tech to independent pharmacies, helping them.
Oh, okay.
With all of their patient performance. It was right around the time of Obamacare. I always call it like right place, right time, right solution, because independent pharmacies are always kind of a dying breed trying to stay alive, but I think they're always a necessary evil in the market. And we had a transformative technology that was going to help all of any independent pharmacy that would use it. And it was, what's interesting too in reflection is like, it was a human to human type of impact that really drove those results. AKA like, bots. For example, medication adherence, when someone was past due on a medication, we would reach out to them in the pharmacist's voice, like on a pre-recorded message. And it's funny because LiveRecover, obviously, is the reason why we're, around and so successful is the human element of what we do and how we're talking to someone through their purchase journey. And so this
is like the brainchild of that.
We provided tech to independent pharmacies. And when I translated the internship into a actual role, because they basically shift the whole mindset of where we were going with the sales motion and marketing motion. Initially they thought like, would they have to hire more experienced salespeople, especially being out of Southern California? You have all the talent in the world. How are we going to really scale this thing? We need to hire traditional salespeople that know what they're doing, not these green people like a Steve coming out the womb and like, what does he know?
Doesn't know anything about sales,
right?
Yeah.
But what was interesting about our model is, it's a very low cost monthly subscription. Getting these independent pharmacies who are in retail on the phone is really the biggest challenge. And you need a young, hungry gun to be able to make those appointments, sell. And, it's just not really a transaction for more of a senior sales rep, like that comes from a striker, one of these big, used to making a cushy commission and salary, whatever. So they basically shifted the model, like seeing the success that I was having very early on as the first rep. And then they shifted, okay, we're gonna do this and then scale this out a bit, and then we can start to hire, more Steves, right? And then I always say, like, I always was like, guys, if I can do this, anybody can do this.
Yeah,
I'm like, if I can, this isn't rocket science. Sales, but at the same time, there is an art to it.
There's a heart to it.
Not
There's
everyone,
a rhythm.
But I was just like, I was someone that was just like, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I think that ignorance is bliss is real. Like, not ever have it. Like, I remember being at the office fucking till 11, 12 o'clock at night, sometimes being on with my buddy who was the investor. And, I didn't know how to pitch that well. And I was learning and getting all the marbles out of my mouth. And he was pretending to be a pharmacist. And he would call his buddies. He'd be like, hey, I actually have a pharmacist that wants to talk to you. Practice your pitch. Wow. And he would say it's a pharmacist, but it was actually one of his buddies. And they're like, they're kind of joking a little bit. But like, I took it like all as like, listen, I'm not going to fail. Like, I'm not going back to Jersey and sitting across from my dad, who's already skeptical, like, what are you doing out there? You're not even getting paid, like all these things. And is the company even going to succeed? So long story short, they modeled that. They modeled the whole go-to-market motion around me. Then we started really actually hitting our goals every month, scaling revenue, and at a certain point, we were getting in a rhythm, and I was starting to, insert myself and, get in a rhythm, hit my goals and getting comfortable.
You're in the zone.
But at the same time, in a tight-knit environment, there's a lot of personalities. And I've always been someone that, although I love mentors and I'm so passionate about learning and I'm very respectful. I'm always been kind of a cowboy and never really had a boss.
Yeah.
And so I started to butt heads with the co-founder who basically oversaw sales at the time. And I was so close to the CEO. He was like a father figure to me.
Wow.
I went up to him at a dinner one time and I was like, listen, I know we're going to get our VP of sales was out of Kentucky, working out of his basement at the time.
Wow. Okay.
And so I went to him and I said, hey, I was like, I know we're trying to get Scott in office. I would love to work out there and trial that for a month with him when we do, and just give me a month. If I don't hit my goals, you can either fire me or ship me back here. I was like, but I was
Ballsy.
Seeing the foresight of hey, I'm not messing with the vibe here. I know I want to continue to grow this thing and blow this thing out of the water, and we have such a opportunity here to kill this thing. I vibe over there with the VP. It's also an hour flight from Jersey versus cross country. So let me go out there. Let's see if we could do our thing. And then what happened to be just a test run. He was down with it. Went out there for 30 days. We did our thing, hit goals, and then all of a sudden that turned into, well, why don't we just scale that office out there? It's going to be a heck of a lot,
especially with
more
your
economical, hiring sales talent out of Cincinnati, Ohio, than Southern California.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where we started to build out that model, and then that's when we started to hire our we actually started to hire reps out of Cincinnati, and then we built our sales team out of Cincinnati originally.
Well, see, great sales artists like you and me, we're kind of lone wolves. We don't like to be in packs. We don't like to be in a system. I feel like I can't breathe when I'm in a system. I need to kind of be let to my own devices. I'm going to give you the results that you want and need, but let me do it my way. Because if I do it the corporate structure way and the people have to all abide by this stupid little instructions, and no, let me figure this out. Let me show you what my worth is. Let me show you what the return on investment can be, and then give me foresight to run it the way I see fit so I can bring you more money to your bottom line. Kind of thing that's what you did with you told them straight up, if I don't do it in a month, you can fire me. So obviously your basic entry point into this spiraled out of control in Cincinnati with hiring more sales talent because of the penny you dropped in the bucket there. You really were onto something.
Yeah. And generally and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, and you're a killer in your own right. But whenever I am overly confident in something and I know I'm going to take the bet out on myself on something, I'll put all the chips on the table.
Yeah.
And, I'll almost go into it hey, I don't even think this is a negotiation because there's only one answer that I see. And then if the buy-in isn't on the answer that I see, not that I'm considering myself special or anything, it's just if it's the answer that I don't want to hear, well then ultimately maybe I need to change my whole course on this whole opportunity, right? Because there's very little thing. I think I'm a very aware, and yes, I have a level of delusional confidence, but I'm also not ignorant and have too big of an ego where I'm just going to let that get in the way. So if I'm putting my chips on the table, it's for a reason, and I'm going to try to ultimately get to the goal that I want or the answer that I want in order to then give myself the best. Because then there's the element of, okay, in that situation, I was able to get the buy-in to go to Cincinnati, but what if we flopped? What if we didn't? Then, I own that. It's yep, let's talk about that because maybe that wasn't, or there's an opportunity to course correct it. But, again, I'm willing to take that risk any day of the week.
There's a gift and a curse to being such a genius in sales, because I feel like sometimes you need to learn on as you go through these deals and negotiations. And it's happened to me where I got caught up in my own hubris. I had too much pride. I was like, no, I'm not going any lower. This is what I can offer for you. And later on, I started to realize, you know what? Let me be empathetic. Let me look at this from a 360 lens. Let me kind of let me kill the ego. Let me say sorry. Believe it or not, if you just kind of hold yourself accountable to a potential client, it just distresses the entire situation, because the problem is, instinctually, we as human beings, once you become defensive, the other person becomes defensive, and now you have friction. You no longer have an easygoing conversation. You have, I don't like you, you don't like me, and now if it's men versus men, it's ego involved. So I'm trying to overdo you, you're trying to overdo me. But guess what? You know what works for me? Hey man, I kind of looked at this differently. Let's revisit this. I thought it wasn't going to work, but I think if we do X, Y, and Z, this can come to a place where we can actually do business. 9 times out of 10, come get a contract.
Yes.
But killing the
Lead with
hubris,
empathy.
killing the ego, it's hard for cowboys like us because we got it. So, but then again, the foresight to know you're that good, but you're going to dial it back, reanalyze, reconfigure, and put this puzzle together differently. I think that's a gift in itself that only a few true sales artists have.
You're
just
right.
like you know what I mean?
You said that so beautifully, and it makes me think of like a lot of things that happens every week. But recently, what I've noticed, if I actually take a step back, because I am in the trenches so much, just the way in terms of we operate at LiveRecover. Corey, our CEO, is just phenomenal and a visionary and an artist.
Shout out Corey.
Artist in his own right, like literally knows 9 instruments. I call him the world's most interesting man.
Holy cow.
He was a world-renowned DJ. You can look him up on Apple Music. And then, obviously exiting a D2C brand, building SaaS, no big deal.
Yeah, right.
But
another day at the office.
but like he's on the back end, building product, working with our engineers, like doing so much. And then I'm more front facing, dealing with clients and the management of the clients and, finessing all the different scenarios and conversations we need to have. Is this a new client we're onboarding? Is this one of our OG clients that we're helping optimize? Is this a fire I need to put out? Is this a billing issue?
Sounds like me.
Right?
Yeah,
so what I've noticed is versus back in the day, my life was, you know what it's like when you're truly just a salesperson, you have certain follow-ups, you got to make certain calls. Are you even making those calls? Like the volume of your day-to-day stress and tasks are so different. And so when it's more like you're in the trenches, managing and building the business, my patience has shrunk definitely substantially, just because like the brain power of what I have to focus on or care for or be sensitive to. I was always like, and still a superpower of me is my energy and my empathy when I lean in the right way and listening. But sometimes on recent calls, I'm bouncing around from call to call or issue to issue or Slack to Slack, and then getting on the call, noticing that I'm not as sensitive as I should be to truly hearing them, solving the right problems, hearing them. Like one scenario that rings a bell from this week was a prospect, like a new prospect that we spoke to, and we're starting to get to the point because of our marketing and our momentum and the positioning is hitting that mostly people are understanding exactly what we do, and it's like instant buy-in and we're moving and grooving.
Yeah, I love when the deal's that smooth, right?
Yeah,
it's just
and so
like
when
layup.
yes, and so when it's not clicking, and then you're talking to a marketer that's bringing up things and saying things that you've just addressed and that your solution solves. It's like, well, what do you like? Why are you the 1% that's missing this? But
correct.
There's always when you take a step back, that's sales, right? There's
sales.
like I actually had a reflection point after the call because I was, I'm just so competitive, like we all are. I'm like, I will never lose a deal, and all I know how to do is sell. And like, I'm like, wait, like, what could I have done better? Because like, truly, I'm not like when I'm at my best, it's always like, how could I improve? Like, I don't care if you're making 48 out of 50 3-point shots. Like, there's still an element of you're not perfect.
There's always a room for improvement.
So, like, you know what? Maybe I should have been more sensitive to researching. They have a very unique product offering. They have a very high average order value. So when someone's buying their products, they're going to be much more intricate in the sales process, which is where we shine in helping brands generate more revenue and recover more of those orders. But clearly I wasn't making them feel comfortable enough along the process. But, also there's an element of they're brand new to the team. Do they even have a authority. So a lot of different things, but I think you get where I'm like
100%. And at the end of the day, you're missing the most important element. We're human, so you're not gonna get every sale, right? And dealing with assholes are gonna make you feel desensitized.
Yes.
I'm sorry, when you deal with people that are not the nicest people, you're gonna become desensitized, and you might project onto a nice person your douchebagness because it's still rubbing on you from the guy you just dealt with. So having that moment of clarity to kind of say, okay, that was not a good phone conversation. Give me 5. I decompress. I'll listen to something. I'll listen to a song. I'll take a walk. I'll put my phone on do not disturb and just drive in silence. I just need that time to recalibrate and get back to zero and say, okay, I kind of see what I did wrong here. So it wasn't him. It was me projecting onto him all the douchebag clients I've been dealing with for the last 5 hours and how they stuck on me. You know what I mean? Like fly to a glue trap.
Yeah.
So now I'm more mentally aware, and I can see the curveball coming, and I know how to react differently. Now, that's a beautiful thing if you can see it and adjust, but there's also that other 10% where I always say this when I feel like the deal is not going anywhere. You know, I'm sorry, we're just probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, and that was an element because
But then they'll come back to you. If
They
you say
will,
that.
brother. They will, and like there's so many instances. But like one to that point, like I even reflected on Twitter because I'm big on social media, and Twitter is like a melting pot for e-commerce, like especially our business. And so I, shared kind of a little bit of the story, and also like put like, there's times and instances with like that example where I've like taken a step back on a call and. I get the vibe, I get the jive, and when I'm on point, it's like, hold on, like I feel this, I understand, and to lean in with empathy that maybe timing is not right here. Like,
correct.
Should we reschedule this
we can
call?
Reschedule it.
Is this project even still a priority?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, checking someone like that has really worked well in like certain instances for me along my career. Is like, you either A, will get them to like kind of gut check themselves and be like, and then they'll open up. You have a breakthrough that maybe they're having a bad day or they were expecting to have this conversation, and focus on X, Y, Z, whatever. You'll get them to open up, or maybe it is timing is not right and, you need to reschedule, or just this isn't the right time to evaluate the opportunity. Whatever it is, I think like when you talk about how do you stick out, especially nowadays with the everyday sales, like, sales is sales, and talking to a sales rep, like, it's far and few between where you get, the A players versus, anyone just trying to hit a number or just doing their job, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I feel that it's an art that can't be taught. It's an art that feels instinctual. It's an art that kind of feels embedded into like some ethos of who you are as a human being, the ability to connect, the ability to have empathy or feel some type of passion for somebody. Tony Robbins always says, hey, listen, the biggest thing you got to do is scratch the record. When you scratch the record, you can always close the deal. And I never forgot that advice when I heard it like years ago on a tape. And every time I handle a sale, 90% of our conversation has nothing to do with what I'm selling. 10% does. So I'll speak to a client, and let's say, I'm in their home and I see a picture of them at the cenote in Mexico. Oh, I love Mexico. How do you like guacamole? What's your favorite tequila? Boom, boom, boom. I love tequila. Oh, are you kidding me? I'll give you a bottle. It's in the car. You want to have a shot?
Yeah.
Boom. And next thing you know, it's like, what are we here for? Oh, okay, let's do it. So it's like connecting on a level that you scratch their awareness of what they're there for. It makes them disarmed. It makes them feel more comfortable with you.
Yes.
And now you want to do business with somebody that's comfortable with you, not making it feel more transactional. But when you do that, it could be anything. Oh, I love that car, man. Hey, bro, look at those shades. You got Oakleys? I love Oakleys. I like Persols too, but hey, man, these are on sale. Blah, blah, blah. Boom. It's like, I like this guy.
1,000%, man.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a human connection. It's a feel. It's a feel that it's kind of like a baseball player, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, full count. He's hitting, he's batting again. He's pitching against the guy that has his number. I can't go fastball. I can't go curve. Should I go slider? Should I go knuckle? Should I go outside, inside? But it's an instinct that you carry, and you're not going to always win, but 9 times out of 10, you'll close that deal. And I think you have that gift. So
no, I appreciate that.
Dude, you're a beast from what I see. I mean, don't be so hard on yourself.
No, I appreciate it. I always just we always talk about the wins. I just like to highlight some of the, because it also, I'm so grateful for where we've been and where we've gotten to and where we're going to go, with LiveRecover. Like the journey is just so interesting, right? Because yeah, I mean, it takes one, I think, resilience, and then two, just not quitting. When you got people like myself and Corey, that just won't take no for an answer. It's been a lot of work to really figure out or help the market figure out
Right.
what LiveRecover does and why we're a value add to really any e-commerce brand that wants to work with us.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But to your point on the we've never had a closing problem. It's been more of a top of funnel problem. And what I really love to see and want to really lean into, and there's always that scalability question, is ultimately the human connection is what matters. And what I see work the best for me when I'm just trying to network and get more people into the top of funnel is the relating to them, whether it's seeing something they post on Twitter and then being like, hey, DMing them, how are we not friends yet, brother?
Yeah,
I was like, I work with all your other friends that you mentioned in that post. I was like, we got to chat.
You're scratching
and then
the
it's
record.
kind of like versus the, hey, man, I know that you're working with Dream Labs. Do you know that our software provides XYZ to brands like Kitsch, GLD and Heart and Soil?
It's the sales pitch.
And believe me, I'm such a salesperson by nature where I've done and fell on my face so many times like that over the years and even recently, because it's just you get caught up in the automation web. Everyone wants to reach everyone. Now with AI and all these tools, you can send thousands of emails or thousands of DMs or thousands of whatever. But truly, I've just, in my experience, especially recently, it's that whole automated playbook, the email outbound, it's dead,
It's done. Yeah, it's a whole other world.
It's
now.
like, how do you truly stick out? And, one thing that I'm definitely realizing as of late is content.
Yes, exactly. Because content is the driver now for, let's be honest, scalability. Without content, without something for people to absorb, everyone's on their phones. Everyone's watching something. Everyone's taking something in, whether it's visual, audible, whatever the case is, but they're also learning. They're also consuming, and consuming is consumers. That's how money is spent. This is what drives the economy. So now it's the same. It's basically the same thing from 50 years ago. There was just no internet, but people still figured out how to drive economy. Now we're in the AI world. Now we're in the tech world where I can go to Under Armour, which is what you guys do at SaaS, and I leave a shirt in my cart and I get 50 emails saying, hey, you forgot something. How about we throw you 10%? And I'm like, what? I do kind of need a new muscle shirt. You know what I mean? So it's like leaning into your impulsivity and your wants and understanding the human algorithm. I think that's kind of what you guys are accomplishing with your company. How hard is that to, and again, I'm speaking as a novice, amateur, I don't know nothing about this business, but how hard is that for you to kind of reel in the client and guarantee something that really is not too predictable? It's all based on human emotion and impulse. How do you kind of seal the deal saying, trust me, your numbers will go up? Like, what's your system to that?
I mean, there's so many angles. I think, of course, the biggest thing that I'm always going to lean on and that it definitely resonates and should resonate with every marketer is the human to human connection, right? We're not trying to replace anything they're doing today. They can continue to blast you however they want with AI, with emails, with text offers, with whatever. But our solution is always going to be relevant to the right event at the right time, because we're not just going to come in and send a text message at any point. It's truly only when you've shown the most highest intent to buy. You were literally at the point of checkout about to buy.
You need that push.
And then you were you veered off.
Got it.
And so legally, that's kind of like the moat, right? Legally, we can only, because we're a fully human-based platform, can text certain people that brands can't text today without a LiveRecover. And so peer-to-peer messaging solves basically 80 to 90% of checkouts that will go abandoned, and they're not going to legally opt into marketing, but they can legally be texted by a person. So we fill that gap, right? And then that's when they're able to get a personalized shopping experience. We're not, I'm not saying that we're solving cancer, but what we are going to do is guaranteed talk to more people than they can talk to today from people who abandon checkout, and convert about 15 to 20% of those shoppers, and provide them a crazy experience where A, yes, they're talking to a human and can get all those questions answered and have a delightful experience, but B, if they ever want to talk to them again and act like they're talking to Lou Goo's, sauce or James's teddy bears, and they want to talk directly to the brand, like that's like their shopper. Like they can text
a personalized shopper.
Yeah, they can text that number
web.
at any point in time, whenever. Maybe they have questions like, "Hey, why I was supposed to get here Tuesday? It's Wednesday. What the hell?" Like, and then we're like, "Yeah," and then we're communicating with the brand, like, "Hey, like, can you give us an update?" And then they look in the update, and then we provide that update. It's like, but they don't know that it's some things going behind the scenes. They just think they're talking to Deuce Brand or all who sin or Dad Gang, and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
You're the buffer.
Yeah, thanks.
You're the buffer.
So like, even though our goal is to sell for the brand, like where our agents are sales ninjas, we also help with the whole customer experience,
hospitality,
CX and all these things. But at the end of the day, like we only come in if they've actually left their phone number. If they don't leave their phone number, we don't even engage.
So just be clear, this is not AI technology. This is human being contacting every customer that's on the verge of buying that product. So the actual human being is texting them real time, message to message, right?
Correct. So 30 minutes from when they've once they've abandoned, 30 minutes from them abandoning is when we can engage with them legally.
And what's the logistics behind that? Like, how's the overhead with all these people? Like, do you have a huge team, or is it like outsourced to India? I'm not taking a shot at you. I know they do that a lot. Like, how does that work? No shout. Sorry, Encore.
No, it's like that's always the natural question, right? I mean, we have agents everywhere. We have majority of them are in the Philippines, which of course everyone has their questions there, but believe me, like this is a well-oiled machine. Like they are like our IP. There's roughly 55 agents. Majority of them have been with us since inception of starting the company. So you want to talk about loyalty and just great employees. Like they're just phenomenal, and they speak multiple languages, and they speak better English than you and I, like guaranteed.
Whoa.
So there's always that element of how well are they going to talk to my brand. We also have the capacity to outsource specific agents. Like if we onboard certain brands and they're like, hey, we're okay to actually pay you to scale. Like we want dedicated agents that are US based, or these agents that we work with here, and we can have them be on our staff and have access to our tech, and we have that capability. But we also are able to provide them with our own agents and dedicate certain agents to the brand if they're a higher volume brand, or they're more sophisticated and want that extra level of attention. But out of the gate, the agent ops process is streamlined. Like we have a whole head of agent ops and onboarding. She manages the agents, deploys them.
Wow, okay. So
associated
like system,
with the brand. Like any brand that installs our app, like if you wanted to use our app you wanted to start an apparel store because you got some dope apparel.
Well, you're going to be working with my apparel company soon, man. Once we get these shirts off the ground. That's what I'm saying. I love the way you guys are rolling, man. So,
have Encore do the ads. You're obviously going to drive traffic to the site. Then what do you do when you're driving a lot of traffic to the site? You're obviously going to have a lot of abandoned carts. And
that's where you guys come in.
You'll gobble up some with email or SMS, but like we're going to be the recovery for all the people that are not going to opt into marketing. And so agents get, like, once a brand installs, it takes probably 5 to 10 minutes to install us. We'll scrape the website for FAQs and like build a knowledge base for the agents.
Got it.
And that'll be the initial framework of like that like the knowledge transfer between them. And over time, obviously, we'll be able to build that out even more because maybe there's more information you're going to want to provide us. We're also going to provide you tons of data insights. That's the conversations that we have. But ramp them up within 10, 20 minutes, and you can literally be up and running live on LiveRecover within max 15 minutes, and we're recovering revenue within like 30 minutes.
All the money you left on the table is getting picked up.
Because like what we also take into consideration the last like 14 days of abandoned checkouts. So we'll be reaching out to past checkouts that were legally opted in as a P2P subscriber.
I mean, I love the way you have it set up, but I have to question because obviously, with the whole blow up of AI in the last couple of years, is there any malleability on the company's end to, maybe transfer little by little to a more AI based of message to message, or we're keeping this human beings?
Yeah. So
is it tempting because of, obviously the overhead, you could probably save more money that way. I don't know. I'm just curious.
Great question.
Yeah.
Well, one, Corey, our CEO, he's the AI godfather, I call him. Like literally like
guy plays 9 instruments and create AI.
I'm telling you, like when ChatGPT was like a couple years ago when like no one was really talking about it, like months, like it popped off. And then, but I remember months before that, he was like sending me so many articles and so much literature on AI and ChatGPT and like things. He was already building an AI company. And so do I think AI will be injected? Well, one,
It should. No?
One, the human element of LiveRecover will never go away.
Okay.
Like that whole, because legally, there's legalities to it. Like you can't
Got it.
inject anytime, like you inject AI or an automation, that's considered application to person, A to P, or automation to person, to make it simple.
Okay.
Where we're P2P, peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer.
So legally, there's separate opt-ins, there's separate TCPA laws, CTIA guidelines, all those things that you need to truly, that message always needs to be sent from a human. And so we'll never change that, right? And that's what we are. But where we will inject AI is Corey's baby is Voyage, right? So we have like a sister arm of our business called Voyage SMS.
Saw that, yeah.
And without getting too much into it, it's, your traditional SMS campaigns, pop-ups, like your traditional SMS marketing program.
The AI model.
Yeah, and we're going to build really like a best-in-class like CDP, different abilities to inject AI like within Voyage. Like there's more to come on that. Where on LiveRecover, the only way we're going to inject AI and where I think it makes sense, and we've already done it, is in our conversation insights. So I argue that the biggest value that we can provide to brands is a majority of the customers we talk to are not opted into marketing. They're not converted customers. This is all zero-party data. We have the ability to consolidate that data and bring it front-facing to brands and owners like yourself.
Here you go.
As to, these are other reasons why customers are not buying. Oh, like I didn't realize our shipping costs with carriers have spiked this much in the past couple of weeks. Oh yeah, we did add those new product items in a couple weeks ago. People are saying that about it. Oh, geez, people are having issues upon entering our site and having friction getting the checkout. Like there's so much insights that we can basically consolidate with AI, provide them sentiment analysis, and basically on a daily, monthly, like weekly basis, provide them all these data, like conversation insights. If you're an agency like Encore, you can export that, look like a rock star, providing it to your brands when you talk to them, being like, hey man, I just got this report from LiveRecover. Let's talk through this. Like one, do we want to like position the agents to do more of X because this is happening? Or, hey, do we want to feed them this new information since we haven't updated the knowledge base in a lot for the agents? Like there's just so many things that you can do. I've seen literally brands change their whole shipping program on site, like go from just the regular shipping program where it's a, one size fits all to like seeing our data and then being able to categorize their shipping into 3 different programs, like a gold, a silver, and a bronze, based on all the feedback that they were able to review and analyze.
You know a lot about baseball?
I mean, I'm a diehard Yankees fan.
Okay, me too. And the reason I'm asking you this,
I'm not like, I'm a more of a basketball football guy, but like, I love baseball.
Yankee. I'm asking you this because what you just said to me, it kind of mirrors what's happening in the major leagues in the last 10 years where they're using analytics to really hone in on getting the best productivity out of their players. So back then, it was all a feel. Like, oh, this guy could throw 150 pitches. He pitches now with analytics. So what Major League Baseball teams do now is they all have an analytics team. Guys from Harvard, guys from Yale, super, very, no disrespect, techie, but, they know their numbers, right? And they come.
Shout out my tech bros.
Yeah, man. And but they come to the team and say, okay, listen, player A does very good around left-handers 75% of the time. Player B does 90% good against left-handers 90% of the time, whatever. And they basically give the teams all the information, all the analytics, all the projections, and the manager makes the best decision for game day of who they should put in what box. You guys are doing the same thing. You are basically the concierge auditor for these businesses that are too big to look at the small blemishes that could be hurting their bottom line. So it's and again, that's why I compared it to baseball, because you're running the analytics for a company. You're showing the value through the data that they're not taking advantage of. You're giving them the option to do A, B, C, like you said, gold, bronze, et cetera. Make the best decision. Here's the crap. Here's all the missing money. Let's go find it. And this will prove our worth to you as a recovery company.
I love that. I don't even want to say anything. I just want to make sure we cut that part out and run it as an ad. That was great. But no, I mean, you hit it spot on. And I mean, this is also what's just so amazing of, having, obviously this journey hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. There's been some tumultuous points along the way of growing and getting to the point where we're at. And I thank God that we're here and so grateful, and we're not even close to being done. But, it's it's always great to just, at the end of the day, we truly are providing value for these
Absolutely,
brands.
man. And you're building something.
I also have never been backing or working with a company that I don't truly believe in. And I mean, whenever I've had it once, I had to leave within 30 days, a very quick stint, just because, if I'm not, like, I'm a man of purpose. I think we might have touched on that. I very early on, I learned like purpose, and it was so astounding to me and like resonated with me. Like my purpose, like I live by 5 pillars, the 3 L's and 2 B's, one,
Tell me about it.
3 L's is, loyal to a fault, love hard, live every day with passion. Feel like I really embody those things. And then the 2 B's, God willing, be the best father I can be and be the best husband I can be.
Fire.
And so when you bring yourself centered to remembering your purpose, like it's very easy to be kind of like locked in, laser focused. And I feel like with LiveRecover, I'm always able to really live my pillars, especially those 3 pillars,
And do what you love.
and do what I love. And it's awesome. And it comes out like, there we can sit here and talk about so many sales semantics and KPIs and sales processes and MEDDIC, different sales playbooks. But at the end of the
KPIs.
day, like, relationships matter. And that's been something that I don't even know how to speak to, because it's rewarded me in so many ways across my career, but really specifically in e-commerce and this journey with LiveRecover, the relationships that I developed, the amazing people that I've met just online and still haven't connected with in real life. But when we connect in real life, it's like, that's where my energy gets to thrive. And that's where really, you take partnerships to the next level. And, I just got back. I was, there was a partnership I've established over the past few years, and it's one of our biggest partners. And, the momentum got a little stale, due to certain other things. And I knew it was time to really kind of go and resurrect that. And it's important, man. And, they matter, and, the people there matter. And, even though I'm going to Ibiza next week, going to Miami next week, I just got back from another trip. I wanted to prioritize going to Portland, flying in late Tuesday night, getting to have dinner at a sit down at my buddy's spot, the leader of the partnership organization there. Got to go on his 12-acre ranch, insane spot. But just all that aside, like the connection, the conversations, the rebuilding and resetting the expectations of the partnership, relationships matter. The relationships you invest in matter, and people love, buying from people that they love,
100%,
like and trust.
The true currency in business is relationships. If you don't have that kind of intact and you don't kind of nourish it, take care of it, it's like having a relationship in a marriage or in a, dating, whatever. You got to kind of nourish and grow that relationship as you guys grow and scale. And if you don't understand that simple concept, you're going to fail in business, because I hate the term, it's business, it's not personal. It's always personal. It's never business. You know what I mean? And, when you keep, going back to your point about faith, like I'm a man of faith as well. And I always lean on, going back to God and saying, okay, you didn't close as many deals today as you thought you were going to. You dropped the ball on this, but I always feel that it's all already written and the plan is already there. God is the true author and knows where we're heading to. We have no idea. We're blind. We're just kind of veering off to the left, veering off to the right, overthinking, being indecisive. Did I do this right? Did I do that right? Man, listen, at the end of the day, before we got here on the microphone today, I didn't know much about you. And I was like, I trust my gift that God gave me. I trust the gift that God has given you. We're going to have a beautiful conversation. Mm-hmm. We're over an hour in, doesn't even feel like it. But that's because I lean on intention and faith and knowing that I'm here because I'm supposed to be here because God already ordained this. So going back to your point about the 3 L's and the 2 B's, right? So that's kind of my 3 L's and 2 B's. Lean in on knowing that the story's already written. The ending is done already. Just show up. And the cool thing is, it's kind of fun not to know what's going to happen.
Oh,
you know? So
I love
it's
that.
like, if you stress too much on the goal or on the result, you don't enjoy the journey of it. And I've learned that through discipline in business, through discipline in marriage with my wife, through discipline in the gym, where there's some days I could run a mile in 9 minutes. There's some days I run it in 12. But guess what? Enjoy the journey.
The journey.
Because the journey of doing the progressive, everyday, myopic, consecutive reps in life, in business, in health, in wealth, it's all going to come back tenfold. Just show up, man. People are failing because they're not showing up.
Not showing up.
You show up every day and you show out. So that's the second part. You can show up to anywhere, but if you don't show out, then you have a problem. You showed up here to the podcast, but now you're showing out, guns out, literally. You know what I'm saying? So
Encore made me put on a shirt,
Encore,
but
we love Encore. But what I'm saying is that being a man of faith and then using that God-given talent that God has blessed you with, brother, you got to the moon, the stars, and beyond in my eyes, man. So
really appreciate that,
I pray everything goes perfect for you from here on in, because your story is very inspiring, man. I really mean that, dude. Seriously,
no, I appreciate that, brother. I really do.
Yeah, the one thing that confuses me is how you're Puerto Rican, you don't speak Spanish.
I did recently get Duolingo. I have it as a goal. Like, I say, like, because again, the competitive nature in us, like,
helps your sales.
And dude, if I were ready, I'd be on a yacht somewhere already.
I'm telling you,
like, listen, but that's a goal. And there's an element of I try not to, like, I believe me, I've thought about that lately, because back on the dating scene, I'm like, I have a very high affinity for Latina women, and
my wife's Latina.
it would definitely be beneficial if I was able to be bilingual, and so it's definitely a goal. But more than anything, business, it's just my culture. I'd love to, but I try not to beat myself up too much with things, because when I look at where I was 12 months ago, and like the dark places that I was in the years leading up to that, and progress, not perfection. That's what I live by. Like, progress, not perfection.
I like that.
It's crazy to see, finally I got in the momentum of being healthy again. And I'm just so grateful to be healthy again, because it's like silly. It's like, man, there's a lot of ways of, everyone wants to sit here and point the fingers at others and blah, blah, blah. And when I look and reflect in the past of past relationships or businesses or opportunities that failed, I hold myself fully accountable
100%
for
you versus
really
you.
all of it. I can't talk to another person. I can't, and I'll never want to give energy to something else other than anything that I can control. And only thing I can control is, hey man, you've been out of shape for a while. You've been lethargic. You haven't been on your A game. You haven't been the Steve that we know. Like, where have you been? Like, maybe if you would have been on point, LiveRecover would have been exited by now, or you already been on to your XYZ, next startup. And so, I try not to get too in the semantics. It's more like, hey, like, this train is rolling, and as I tell my buddy, my lifting partner, shout out my lifting partner, Nico, best realtor in North Jersey,
nice,
and my real estate partner, Massimo, best lender in New Jersey.
Let's go.
I tell them, I was like, the lights were off, but they're turned on now, and nobody can turn it on and off like
That's
me.
it, brother. No,
so like when you have it, it's
focused.
not to be an ego or anything or cocky. It's just more like when you get that confidence again, it starts to translate in ways that you never even would have imagined.
No, it's a beautiful thing, because you talked about being in a dark place. What was this dark place you were talking about that you were in? Was it the breakup, or was it something else?
No, you just reflect a little bit and you just think of, I just think unhappiness.
Was it moments in time, or was it a constant years and years of sadness or unawareness?
I think it was years of leading, like the dark place I think of is years of leading up and staying stagnant, knowing, like avoiding the ultimate truth, I think, of knowing you need to move on from something, or you need to change, or you really need to put on the big boy pants and get out of the situation you're in. But it's very easy to stay comfortable and complacent and have hope for something you want to happen, but ultimately is not going to happen.
What was the uncomfortable thing you were comfortable with?
I think the uncomfortable thing I was comfortable with was staying in a relationship that was terrible for me and going nowhere.
I can feel you on that, man. You feel dead inside, and you feel less of a person. You start to question your own choices. You start to question your own life. Depression gets big. People get suicidal thoughts. It can get very dark very quick. Knowing how to handle your mental health based on the decision you made of the partner you were with can really kind of bring to the forefront of understanding that, oh, this is why I made this decision. This is why I made this decision. It's all because of my past trauma that I bottled up, threw it away, didn't want to look at it, didn't want to deal with it. And I just created this pile of crap that I'm trying to dig myself out of.
Mm-hmm.
So once you're aware, it's like you said it before in the beginning of the podcast, ignorance is bliss. Everything seems peachy because you just don't know any better. But then when you start understanding and uncovering, you're like, ugh, what the hell was I doing? I'm an idiot. I was a retard. Like, what the heck am I doing? You can't do that. So understanding that, looking at it, and now just pivoting, and much respect to the person you were with. It's not you. It's not me. It just doesn't, we're not a good fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So finding out, how to navigate that and what's better for your mental health can get you on that straight path where, like you are right now, your mind is clear. The lights are on. I lost weight. I'm disciplined. I'm going to make sure that LiveRecover gets exited. I'm going to do everything I can to grow this startup and get to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
You had to feel like you were dying to now feel live.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's so interesting how, LiveRecover. Like you're literally live and you're recovered.
Yeah.
So it's almost very therapeutic in a way how your mantra of your startup, the name of it kind of reflects your personal life. How do you feel about that?
I mean, that's interesting. I never thought of that coin. I like that. But I think it also just ties into we learn so much from, like, that's why I embrace everything. Like, I'm so grateful for the past and anything that came with it, mistakes and this, because I think I'm at where I'm at. We're all at where we're at for a reason. And I'm at where I'm at. Like, I think there's ways that I'm able to handle so much of the thrashiness of startup life and the ups and downs and the money, the no money, because, I know exactly what it's like to have money, to lose it all, to win it back again, to lose it all, and to be able, you owe the IRS this much, you owe this creditor this, you're asking this, you borrowing, I basically have raised money multiple times and borrowed from friends and this and that. And so it's like, financial pain, that's all I know. And I'm very comfortable with it, right? And so, when you're in a startup and you're going through those waves of, at times where you're burning through cash and you're trying to figure out payroll and you're, navigating this, you're navigating that. And then, when times are great, it's like you can't get too high with the highs, you can't get too low with the lows. What I've always learned is you gotta fall in love with the process.
Yes.
And you gotta really trust the process and know that ultimately the right activities will lead to the right results.
1,000%, bro. I couldn't have said any better myself, man. I mean, brother, I think you have a very bright future, man. And I think that, from what I've learned from you today, you're a very driven, goal-oriented, disciplined person. And I think that the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I mean, I'm excited to hear where this journey goes for you and have you come back here and chop it up again, because
we gotta do.
We gotta hang out, because I feel like you're just a cool dude altogether. You know what I'm saying? Like we got a lot of things that we got in common. So I'm very thankful, man. Before I get you out of here, I have a couple quick questions I always give to every guest.
Oh, okay.
Y'all are not allowed to hang out without me.
Oh, you hear this?
To be at the head.
Yo, the suit.
We're getting infiltrated.
He's gatekeeping the connection, bro.
Are you kidding
it's all
me right
good.
now?
I'll have him edit out in post.
2 Puerto Ricans and an Indian, that is not allowed.
That's the beginning of a bad joke.
That's not allowed.
So, brother, before I get you out of here, I have some mastermind questions I always ask the guests. Quick thoughts. Want to know how you think. Want to know who you are more as a person. Okay.
Okay. Quick.
What's the book that you have read that inspired you the most?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. Dale Carnegie.
I love that book as well. Dale Carnegie. That's an amazing book. And if you see, it's funny because what he's done in that book, even with the whole industry and I think it was the mind. It was a factory in the beginning that he helped build up. You're kind of doing the same kind of thing with the startup. Mm-hmm. So it's beautiful how that's your
honestly
book.
First sales book I ever read.
Really?
And I read it multiple times.
Get out of here. The Greatest Salesman in the World. You ever read that one? No. That's my second favorite.
I will be honest. I'm not like your avid reader. I'm trying to pick it back up. But.
If you have, it's a short read, hour and a half. You can audible it. Mm-hmm. Hour and a half listen. One of the best sales books I ever heard in my life. The Greatest Salesman in the World. Remember, it's a good one, brother.
Send that to me.
I'm gonna send it to you. It's a really good book. I'm not even joking. You'll love that.
I love that.
What person in your life has brought you the most influence?
The most influence, my mother.
I love that. Why?
I've spent so much quality time with her, and I've just learned so much raw life from her. And I can never imagine not going through the experiences I've gone with her and being the person I am and being where I'm at today.
Beautiful answer. Beautiful. What's the hardest thing you've ever been through?
The hardest thing I have ever been through.
Everybody always stops at this one.
The transition between my first startup and getting to the next company.
And why is that?
Because I feel like the job wasn't finished. I had to leave a little prematurely, and the job wasn't finished.
Got it. Is that something you live with regret with today, or just that's it, done?
No regret. I will say, thank God, no regret. But it doesn't take away the feelings.
Of course, yeah. Those always attack you, but knowing where you are now, I mean, even though it didn't work out, you're still blessed. Like I said, God already has the book written, and that happened because He wanted it to happen. So, but I know the feeling of like, this could have, you know what I mean? So I share that with you a lot, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Have you ever had any vices, and how did you overcome them?
Yes, gambling.
Gambling. Oof.
Big time
That's a
gambler.
hard one, man.
Lost so much money. I mean,
well, you do
we
startups.
we can do a whole podcast on that.
Wow.
But yeah, I'm North Jersey boy. There's a lot of Sopranos is a real thing. Yeah. And all these things, and getting linked up with the wrong people at the wrong times, and making a ton of money early on in your career. But yeah, I'd say gambling debts, gambling problems for sure. How did I overcome it? A lot of self-work, reflection, some therapy, and
nice.
Working with the right people along the way, for sure.
Beautiful, man. Is it harder now because it's legal and it's in your face all the time?
Yeah, honestly, because there's so much I have just so much to focus on with the business, and there's so much to lose. Like, I already know what that's like. Like, I know, there's no winning in gambling.
No.
I mean, is the temptation still there? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But that's with anything. So, I'm like a lot older now, and when you have some wisdom, right? Yeah, it's like you already know. Like, I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over,
expecting the same result,
expecting a different result, right? So yeah, I mean, but I'm just so grateful to be where I'm at now and not having those problems.
That's really awesome for you, man. I'm proud of you, brother. Last one before I get you out of here. What's the last thing you purchased that changed your life?
The last thing that I purchased that changed my life.
You can't say a gym membership. No, I'm just joking.
I would say golf clubs.
You're an avid golfer now.
I have, if I had a gambling obsession, that translated to golf. And I'm so grateful for it, because like I was always like a competitive, very competitive athlete, loved basketball, and always just, could lean on that as like my escape, and there's just something about that passion when you can like let it out. And like, even if you're not playing well or you're playing well, and you can talk shit to somebody,
best,
how we are over here, getting on the court. And so golf was like, for the longest time, my ADD, ADHD, I couldn't get into it. And then finally started to take some lessons with a buddy of mine.
Nice.
It clicked. And like, now I'm just obsessed. Not that I'm good or anything. I broke 100 once a couple weeks ago, and I thought I was like doing it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to continue to get better, and watch, by the next time you see me,
dude,
I'll have some stories for you.
I want to me and my wife both want to get into it. There's actually a golf club. There's a country club by our house. It's not that expensive either for the year. But it's just like once we do the membership, it's a commitment. Now we got to do it. And a lot of my friends golf, and I was a big baseball player, so I love swinging stuff. But it's just like I'm scared to get into it because I think I'm going to get super addicted to it if I do it. But it's definitely on my list of things to do. Me and my wife. So listen, I will if you ever are free, call me. We can go you could teach me a couple things. I would love to just get my feet wet, man. I want to wear a polo shirt. You know what I mean? And I want
You're too jacked for a polo shirt, brother. Come on,
nice little tight polo shirt, some slacks. You know what I'm saying? So
I love it.
I want to have a nice cigar. You know,
I don't smoke cigars, but all my buddies do.
Oh yeah, white gloves. I want to have the white gloves. I want to have some nice Cartier glasses on. I want to look like a golfer, but I can't play like one. So
I love it. Wait, so where'd you go to school that you played
Elizabeth
ball?
High School.
Okay,
Elizabeth. Yeah, but I mean, listen, I wasn't an all-star or nothing. I was really heavy. You see
that's
my
right. That's right.
So I was.
It's amazing what you look like now.
No, thank you, man. No, it took me to this 2025. 9 years ago, I started my fitness journey, and it was up, down, and for the last 3 years, it's been nice and consistent because I, like you said earlier, held myself accountable. No one is going to show up for you but yourself. And when I made that connection, I was like, done. That's it. I wake up every day at 3:30. And I go to the gym at 4:30 in the morning.
Bless you, brother. Bro. I think I'm a beast at like 5:45.
Yeah, I used to do. Well, it's funny because the more weight I lost, the more addicting the gym got. So it went from going to the gym at 9 in the morning to going to the gym at 7 to going to the gym at 5:30, and now I go at 4:30, and that's my 2 hours, 4:30 to 6:30. I'm in the gym 5 days a week, and I do that for my mental health. It's also I feel like a new addiction from not eating fast food because I used to eat McDonald's sometimes 3 times a day. Wow. Yeah, it was bad, bro. I was 330. I was like a shell of myself of who I am now. But now
you look so amazing.
Thank you, man. Yeah. No, and I'm, now I'm just thankful that the routine is there, and it's something that even if I stray away from it, I go right back to it. Like if I have one day off, I can't have 2 days off back to back. I start getting anxiety. So like I do 6 days a week. One day I just do running. The other 5 days, weight training and cardio. And then I always make sure, my wife is going to laugh when she hears this. Like we just booked Bahamas for August. There's 2 deciding factors for our hotel. Is there an adult pool? And how's the gym? Because we're both the same. Yeah, dude. So I was in Aruba last year. The gym had 2 floors at the Marriott. I loved it. And it's like, because I still need that hour, even though it's not 2 hours like here, but I get that hour in where I'm just like, physical maintenance, run a mile. I feel good. Now I can have my chicken tenders and cocktails and I don't feel too bad about it.
Need that dopamine rush.
Yeah, you need it. You need it, bro. Yeah. So just kind of like how it is for you with golf, and obviously you work out too, but for me, the gym has really replaced all the negative stuff I used to do. So
I love that.
It's a good thing, brother. Yeah. And us being in sales, you need that kind of like focus time by yourself to really dial into what you got to do for the day.
100%.
So I'm really big on that. I'm big on health. So it's a cool thing, man. Golf and health, brother.
I know,
we got to rock and roll, man.
Wait, now I always like to do this, like, because I know we got to wrap up, but
yeah,
let me ask you a question.
Please.
So outside of the weight journey and all the fucking amazing stuff you did there, what is the biggest personal challenge business or personal challenge that you've had to face, and how did you overcome it?
The biggest personal and business or one or the other?
One or the other.
The biggest, I wouldn't say it's more of a challenge. Well, I'll give you both. I'll give you one of each. The biggest personal challenge was overcoming my addiction to marijuana. So I used to smoke weed a lot. Like I was a functioning weed head. And I would do it sometimes 2-3 times a day. Now, granted, the stint of this was like probably 4 or 5 years. I wasn't like a pothead since I was, introduced to it. It was kind of after my mid-20s, like in my early 30s, where it was just like going to the movies, I'm going to smoke. Going to Great Adventures, I'm going to smoke. Going to the gym, I'm going to smoke. And it just became a part of my life, but I didn't like who I was becoming. I was numb. I was always hungry. I was eating like very poor. My diet was all out of whack. My relationships were shaky because I was so aggressive when I didn't smoke. So it was so many toxic things that built up from that. And I wasn't even getting high anymore because you smoke so much that it's just
Build up that tolerance.
Yeah, you build up the tolerance. So
I know it, brother.
Yeah, man. So, God bless my wife, who I met around that same time, and she really brought me closer to God. And she told me, and you said, you prayed for a woman like me, but here you are making these mistakes. I can't accept this. And literally, I was on a plane, and I said this story many times on the podcast, so I'm sorry, guys. You fast forward this if you've heard it.
I love it.
We were on a plane heading back from Miami, and we had a crappy, getaway because I was just, anxious with the weed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a movie, Bohemian Rhapsody, which is about Queen, and about the death of their lead singer and what led up to that. And he was addicted to heroin. He was addicted to drugs. He was addicted to pills. He got AIDS. He messed up all the relationships in his life. And I'm watching this in real time on the flight, and I'm like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never smoking weed again. And that was 2018. So that's 7 years ago.
Wow.
And no have an urge to do it anymore. Don't even want it. I don't feel that kind of like angst like, oh, I got to smoke. Like when there's something stressful in my life, work out, go for a run, go hit the batting cages, go have a cigar. The cigar is probably the only thing that I'll do once in a blue that's kind of still like a bad vice, but it's like, hey, I'm only human. I'll enjoy a nice cigar here and there. But no, that was probably my most hardest personal battle that I can remember. And on the business side, the hardest business battle was kind of understanding that you have to give yourself a little more credit for the gift that you have. I feel like there was a part of my life in business where I didn't believe in myself enough. And everyone would tell me, yeah, you're great. And I wouldn't see it, but it was all imposter syndrome. It was, crap from my youth, traumatic, being a fat kid and everybody saying you're fat, you're not good enough. And that sticks to your mind.
Yeah.
And if you let it overcome you, you'll become a failure. So thankful for therapy. I've been in therapy for almost 6 years now. Carla, she's the best. Shout out to Carla. And we unpacked all of this trauma. And it was hurting my business because I wasn't at 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And once I unlocked that key, my business went from 0 to 100. And it was almost like, man, you had it all the time. You just were dumb, and you were unaware. But now I think that the common theme of our conversation is ignorance is bliss. And we both have been on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And for the business part, I think that was the worst for me, is that I was so ignorant to the fact that I was so great that I had to open my eyes and realize, dude, you're there. Start accepting it and stop neglecting it, because it is going to be a hell of a ride from here on in. So
hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Those are the two ones I could think of, man.
Those are great answers, man. I mean,
yeah, brother.
Great answers.
Thank you, man. And brother, this is a great conversation, bro.
I know, we got to continue this. We got a lot more to follow up on.
No, there's a lot, man. So listen, we're going to hang out with Encore. He's going to pay for Roof Chris. And, we're going to have a good time and we're going to catch up more, man.
100%, man. Let me know when let's do this again.
Absolutely, dude. But before we get you out of here, take a couple seconds, let everybody know where they can find you, your business, shoot out your brand, do what you got to do. The floor is yours.
Yeah, man. So find me on IG. I'm at Steve Lequerica. I'll spell, Steve is STEVE, LEQUERICA. On Twitter, really catch me on Twitter at Steve Leq, STEVE, LEQ 30. And LiveRecover, shout out LiveRecover, best abandoned cart recovery platform with real humans. If you're not using it today, you're just missing out on revenue that's just sitting there. So let's make it happen. Shout out Lou Goo. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, brother.
Best Puerto Rican duo, I think, out there.
Solid,
you know what I mean?
Solid, bro. Thank you so much, brother. Man, well, guys, that is, by the way, he called me my old rap name. I don't go by Lou Guz anymore, right? But in case people are wondering, what does that mean? That is a wrap on episode 45 of I'm an Artist, Not a Salesman podcast. If this podcast inspired or moved you in any way, please subscribe to my Apple, Spotify, YouTube platforms by typing in Luis Guzman, I'm an artist, not a salesman, and clicking that subscribe button. Please make sure to follow my Instagram handle, I'm an artist, not a salesman, for further content and updates. I am thankful for every listener. I pray you have a blessed one, not a stressed one. Peace.
I need you by my side.